So we're carrying on with our discussion of distance vector loop prevention. We've talked about counting to infinity on a single link. And so now let's move on to the next problem, counting to infinity in a redundant network. Now I know you might be saying, well, isn't this the same thing as counting to infinity on a single link? It pretty much is. It's got the same root cause, which is the timing issues that cause the route table to become inconsistent. However, the solution to counting to infinity in a redundant network is a little different. So let's look at this redundant network. So we have 3 routers here with 5 networks advertised between the 3 routers. Everything's clicking along just fine until this link fails to this 192.168.23.0/24 network. Now, per the existing rules, router 2 sends a metric 16 route update to both of them, but we're going to look at this link to router 3 first. So it sends this metric update to router 3. At about the same time, router 1 sends an update for the same network saying, hey, I have a 2-hop route to this 192.168.23 network. Router 3 says, oh, well, that link was down, but I guess it's back up because you know about it now. And so he starts advertising a metric 3 route to that network going through router 1. However, about the same time, that metric 16 update comes from router 2 to router 1. So router 1 then marks the route as down. It then receives the route update from router 3, both of these routers do, saying, hey, I have a metric 3 route to this network, send all of your traffic to me. And around and around and around it goes until everyone finally ends up at metric 16, just like over a single link, although it takes about twice as long, in my experience, for that metric 16 route to propagate throughout the entire routing domain. So how do we fix this? Obviously, we have split horizon and poison reverse and triggered updates working for us. So how do we fix this problem in a redundant network? The solution to this is a hold down process. Quite simply, when I hear about a failed route, i.e. one with an infinite metric, hold that route down for a period of time, the hold down timer. By default, the hold down timer in RIP is 180 seconds or 3 minutes. While the hold down timer is active, I'm going to ignore any other updates about the poisoned route. So in our previous example, when router 2 sent that metric 2 update to router 3 up at the top, router 3 would say, hey, this route's poisoned, I'm not going to listen to you. However, the router that originally marked the route as poisoned can be believed before the hold down timer expires. And if the originating router advertises a non-infinite metric while the hold down timer is active, then the router says, well, you originally advertised the route as poisoned. However, you're now saying it's available. You'd know better than anyone, so I'm going to mark the route as back up. So let's go back to the diagram and see how the hold down process would help us. So here's our network, and again, this link fails. You get the metric 16 route up to router 3. Router 1 now sends the metric 2 route. However, the hold down timer is active on router 3, so router 3 says, hold your horses there. You don't really know about this route because it's been poisoned from router 2. I'm going to ignore this route update. And that gives router 2 time to send the metric 16 route out to router 1, at which point router 1 says, oh, well, I guess that route really is poisoned, and then begins advertising a metric 16 route of its own for this network. So that's it in a nutshell. That concludes our discussion of distance vector loop prevention technologies.